Good evening, everyone. Work on some simple, small stuff tonight. I got some green wood to turn for one. These are green. These are going to be square. Never tried. I just taught this as a class, and the one guy asked me whether he could do these green or not. I said I didn't know because I never really tried to do one green. May or may not work so well. We certainly will find out and see. I'll drill the hole. Just kind of a simple way of doing it because these were not necessarily. We're not going to really manipulate anything. At least I'm not planning on manipulating anything. So we'll just expand out into them. We don't need a very big tool rest. Probably will have to come over here and straighten up the top first one. No point in not bringing the tail of the stock up. Safety first, as always. Start out nice and slow. Oh, that's interesting. That thing is way out of whack-a-rooney. Here's your shower curtain. Nice gentle cut. Why it seems so out of whack. Didn't do a stellar, didn't do a real stellar job on the bandsaw. Just makes my work a little harder. Only touching one, I need two. Try something different, see if I can go inward on it. I don't need to go in real far, I just need to get these top wings to all touch. Not quite. Not close enough, I think. Not too concerned about this one because it's the likelihood of this actually working very well is probably slim, I would say. So move it over there. Bring that down a bit. So you get a different perspective on what we're doing. Probably should know where the circle part of it would be. Probably going to be on the sides because this is definitely not cut as much of a, really not a square or even a rectangle for that matter. It's kind of haphazardly. It was a piece that was left over, so I just kind of haphazardly got rid of it, cut it. So we know these corners are going away. and get rid of some of that. That should take up some of the, yeah, that allow me to get the speed up where I want it to be. For now, I'll just go straight in, straight up, straight out. See whether we're in far enough. A little overhang, not much there. There's also a bit of a knot right there, so we might as well go in just a little bit further. Make the bowl part a little bit smaller, the wings a little bigger. Really should try and get rid of the branch that came through. But that should all go away. These have got to come up further. A minute. It's time to get rid of the tailstock. We're just getting the road for now. One of these projects, well, almost all the projects, you should always spin it by hand to make sure that you've not done something to cause you trouble. Like you can hit the camera. You have to move that a bit. Come down a little. There we go. Guess I really should have set a pair of dividers for these jaws, but I didn't. Actually, that might be right there. 1 3/4, a little bigger. Somewhere thereabouts. And the guy just set the tendon. No sharp corners. Now I'll give these wings a little bit more shape. Let's see. Since we're down to about a quarter, so that's some ugliness there. That branch, there's not much I'm going to do about that. It's probably going to fall out on me. So we'll just smooth these up a bit. Drop the handle down in the pocket, basically shear scraping with it. Try and get this nice even area. Don't look even. Finish up this little bit in there. Sort of a nice, crisp, clean corner in there. At least that's what I like to do with it anyhow, put it that way. That's what I was afraid of, is since it's wet, gonna want to stand up some grain. Probably a good reason not to do these in grain wood. So let's put a handle in the shear scraper and see what that'll do if you drop it on the floor. Thank goodness for rubber mats, or else we've been over the grinder right now. If we're going to use it as a shear scraper, we don't really need to raise the tool rest up. We need to get it back a little bit more than what it is. If I did this any justice. Yep, that worked. Worked actually quite nicely. So that gives it, basically we give it a sandable kind of a finish. I don't think, just out of curiosity, not knowing what they're going to do, I'm just not going to mess with sanding it. Let's first sort of do clean this up. It's starting to not very flat. I'm going to use the still 60 degree. It just has a micro bevel on it and straight wings. Do it in little stages. Almost fail, stop and look. See whether my eye's telling me right. Took little chips on the corners earlier, I guess. Like I say, this is just sort of an experiment kind of a thing, so I'm not going to mess too much with it. We're pretty even, about a quarter of an inch, something like that. Also actually need to know where the inside of the body is. This is the outside. I think is when they're small enough. It's what it's showed the guy that was teaching this to. I'm like, when they're small enough, you can sort of stick your head over it. I said, but I don't think I want to get in that habit. So the outside of our bowl is somewhere on and about there. So let's take a little bit, get this flattened out more so. So we get a better idea of where it's at. Yeah. When I do that, I'm sort of leaning, getting the point of the tool about where I want it to be. And it's just sort of leaning forward, and I can see down through the wings. It seems to work. It'd be a fairly tight curve for this gouge. Can actually put our fingers in there once it stopped. Yeah, we can definitely go straighter a little bit longer. And swing the curve. Got a little lip right there, but feels like it's alright. That's about where we want the thickness down there to be. Just kind of being a little aggressive there. That almost feels like it could actually be an antenna down here in the very bottom. I was just watching a video with Richard Raff, and he loves the scrapers, especially like down in that area. So maybe we'll give it a little bit of a whirl. We need to be above center, so that we're at a little bit of a negative down angle there. A bit more. Doesn't necessarily have I don't think as big of a curve as what he does. I'll say here. I think that's going to get me in trouble. A little bit too big for that. You have another one that's rounder. Just put it in the big handle. Okay, it's got a nice curve to it. Let's see if we can tilt it up on its side. And have trouble getting ready and sending it out. Left the mark. Not the cut mark I want either. Still leaves disturbed grain, especially in a wet wood. I mean, that's nothing that a little bit of 120 would help. There's actually a burr on that scraper too. Let's see whether I cleaned it up. Somewhat. Not all, but some. Have some up in there. Kind of the weird part about this scraper is you're sort of going in the wrong direction, even, but it's not staying in the green now. Or not very much, anyhow, put it that way. If it was dry, it seems to work either way. So that's one of the little square ones. I don't think I'm going to mess with the other one. I think I'll just leave it sit out here. Maybe I'll put it in a paper bag for the week or two. See what it does. And see whether I was, yes, I'm not thin. Then I should be able to come back, and would have been better if I'd actually marked the center line on there, or center point, but I don't necessarily have a lot of confidence that this is going to do anything besides go 8. You know what? Probably not do anything else. Put it back where it was at. I think I'll give it just a quick little bit of the sand. I'm going to get carried away with it. That's 1/5. Yeah, that should work. Drop the speed back a little bit. I'll still leave it fairly fast. So I should have a little dust collection. Because I'm sure that's the part right there that's going to move the most. Put a line in there. Or I don't really need enough to fuse at this point. It'll be easy enough to get after. Right on with the rest of it, I think. So now the real question is, there was a lady came to our wood turning club, and she wants these, what did she call it, ikebanas made. Her late husband was a member of a club, And a very good member. He was an eye surgeon. And still going to do it sort of the same way. This is kind of a, I don't know. Leave it to Richard Raffin to come up with something simple-minded like that to make life a whole lot easier and quicker. These are actually a true square. I think we'll just flatten out the bottom and then we'll have to think about this. But she left it up to the maker to do whatever you wanted to do as far as design. You just have to hold this little metal cup. It also might make these too big. They're supposed to be 5 inches. And I think that's about, I think my piece is just over 5 inches, or right about 5 inches. So rather than trying to design on the fly, we'll just get rid of these corners and be done with it. Could just as easily take it to the bandsaw, but then you're left with these little itty bitty pieces, so might as well do it the easier way and just turn them away. Not quite there yet. That should work. I just got that flattened out. Now we have all flat surfaces to work with. I think if we give this a bigger size tenant, we can use that as a foot. Give it sort of a simple kind of design. And we're going to turn the dust collector on. Walnut is not my friend. Do not touch that. Better make sure. I think I had that. I think I had that set. That was very, very close already. Now we have the little minor oops. Perfect. Still good. No more little oopses down there. Stay away from that area down there. shape a little bit up to that point. Make sure there's nothing torn, nothing goofy. Problem with this kind of project is you can't, no power sanding. I'll do all this by hand. Hard part is to get in there underneath that little bead. A little bit of overkill for a chuck, but I need the big chuck. But I want to leave that the beaded foot alone. it's done. So now we'll go ahead and clean up this face. That we do. I think we need to make the recess for the cup first, which is smaller. Set my dividers for that. So that's our outside dimension. I think this is going to be the hardest part about doing these. There's two different dimensions, just a little metal cup. So that would be the inside dimension. So, then we're going to shear scraper. We're going to go to a semi-square end one. We call it a square end, but it actually has a radius on the end. So that theory is the inside, somewhere thereabouts. We'll have to use the rough higher yet. I got to be able to cut with this top corner. And here, deep enough. It's pretty deep. I don't know that it necessarily has to fit kind of perfectly. The first order of business is to get the outside to fit. That's getting real close. So I think, to me, it could actually sit up on that rim, in my opinion. Too much. my angle out here is not steep enough. Like a mighty big hole for that cup. Yeah, so this is probably going to be a failure. But we're going to keep going and see what it. I have that. So let's see. It shouldn't work, I don't think. I actually made that. That's what you call live and learn, I guess. Still not quite deep enough. lots all around the lathe eye. Other curiosity thing is how deep. It looks like there's lots of room. Let's go down a little deeper. Very hard to see what you're doing. Do a lot more of it by feel than anything. Pump in the middle. You gotta get rid of it, right? Still very sloppy. Chase the cup. Let's see where it goes now. Now the rim should sit above slightly. I don't know how perfect they gotta fit. I would say I should be able to do better than that. I think that'll fit for now. I think we'll give it some sort of a little bit of a detail or something here. Not totally sure what. Let's take a little bit of a dish down area. make it a little bit lighter. Definitely too big. One of the things you can't put it back, so just move on, stand it up a little bit. So now the next one we know a little bit more what we're doing. That's the inside there. Needs to be sanded, but I guess it really doesn't necessarily need to be super duper smooth. A little bit of a rounded shape, I guess, on that. Definitely a little bit of pick that grain in there. Just that. to me, that's too loose in there. Flops around. Good thing we have a bunch of these ready to go. Nice for them two trucks actually had the same truck key, but it have everything. Almost homework, so. just a hair on the low side. Not to mention it's getting dull. Get rid of these wings. And back in there again. A pretty pointy bead, but it works. A simple rounded shape. I think it's a simple to stick it for that. Concaves. give it a, we'll give it a sand, but see whether we can get the other part of it right. That other one will probably go right back on the lathe and just kind of need a teeny tiny little forward bowl or something. If it doesn't, even though this is something that's going to be given away, it still needs, to me, it still needs to be right. Um, what did I do? I had the wrong one. I grabbed the big one. I marked that wrong. That's no fun. I'll just go back to them, I guess. These will leave marks. See another scenario of having to try and avoid that. This will probably leave huge marks that go with it. Oh my gosh, yes, big time. Oh, not what I want it to be. Okay, I'm going to go sharpen some tools. Also put a burr on that. Okay, put a grinder we go. Probably should measure that a little bit differently. Maybe I can find the proper size drill bit for the bottom. That's not right. That's a spinning guys. I have the wrong one. That's not for that. I will get the right one, yeah. This is a 60-degree. Everybody says you can grind freehand. I don't like grinding freehand, so I actually need to put a mark on there. So if I better yet, just keep working on. I ain't right for that either. Shit, that was right. I had the wrong fig. Keep the bevel short. Allow me to make a tighter curve. So, scraper. Degree drives. Just clean up this face a little bit. So, now, okay, this is the dimension of the bottom. Theoretically, that should have been great. try nowhere near deep enough though, as we determined earlier. So we're going quite a ways farther. If we could open up the little bit there. Now, still not deep enough. Kind of getting into a tight quarters there with that. It's great, the 3/4 inch wide. That's getting very close to the depth that we need now. Now, if we go under the rim, just outside, well, it's more like it. It's not, still not deep enough. It's hitting on the bottom. That's where to start though, is on the bottom. A little bumpy in the bottom. Yeah, a little ridge right there. Other than that, that thing actually, scary enough as it is, actually sort of fits. Getting rid of the bump in the bottom is becoming a very much of a challenge. So that shows where I mess with the outside part of it. That actually fits pretty good. Better than the other one, but still think it would be better if it was down a little bit yet. I'm inside that rim. We're definitely not deeper than we need to. Let's just do a tiny little shoulder to sit down in there. Tiny bit more. Ever so slight. This probably could be a little bit tapered to go with it. Because the wood's going to move. And that's just right. Doesn't wobble around much in there. Also, if I need to clean up that over there, I could. With the old trusty spew, like most people use them as, just slide a little bit of undercut. It's being filtered out. Not to mention the dust collector is running too because it's warm. I think that's success. I think that is a success. Not the prettiest inside, but there you go. I think we're going to leave it at that. All that good. If I mess with it, I'll mess it up, I'm sure. There's a ridge in there. I have a different scraper that I use. Problem with this one is this has a cutting edge on the side as well. It also needs a burr on it. Not a big burr, but just a burr. Well, I think that was a success. At least it felt like it was a success. See whether I made this thing loose now. No, it's not bottoming out. I think that's a situation of quit while you're ahead. Kind of like the little shape that I did the other one. That's the shape of the first one, which this hole is wrong. Just try and lighten them up a little bit. have to go online somewhere and try and look for some designs that people have. Not my strong suit. I think I can live with that. Like I say, now that recess, because I made the tenet wrong, so that should be enough of a recess. You got to flip this around and take care of that what I messed up on that foot. I think. But first things first is a little trusty sand Rooney. I have little clothespins on the board back there. I'm not reaching into no man's land. That's where the sandpaper lives. Get a paper towel to wipe off the dirt though. Fingers are getting a little more pushing a little too hard, too fast, or both. Go right through to 600. You're supposed to stand inside right along with the eyes. Not that the inside is ever really going to be seen, because that cup's going to live in there. This will be judged by a bunch of other wood turners, so they're all going to look in there and say, why is there so many scratches? You got to work. Plus collector, a little less noise for me anyhow. Because when that's on, it definitely, that was just a question I had about the noise cancellation. It really works on that. So now, let's go over that little puppy. Just a little squeeze, enough to hold it, because it put 8 little marks in that rim. So it should spin true. It does. We'll have to recut this bead a little bit. Unfortunately, but it's a freshly sharpened gouge this time, so shouldn't have too terribly much issues. Hopefully, in the corner, drop the handle and fluoresce the surface. So that's where the marks are going to be, is more so on the inside of that. Still 1, 2 little pesky marks. Better to leave that little ridge right on the very top. That will sand right off. Still mark. That's where the problem lies. Them marks go in there too deep. How about we just take them? Other than that, not really the time for design change, but we make that a little bit of a sink it in there. shrink it down a little bit, just to make it sit just off the table. And in all reality, if I need to, I can still grab a hold of that tenon, even though it's probably, I don't have the right size jaws again for it. Make sure we're concave. We are a little bit. Certainly not overly pretty and flat in there. We'll change that. We'll go back to our scraper and take care of that quickly. It's about time to be done. Go get some ice cream. Rest comes up for the scraper. Not quite that high. Nice simple little design. Just so if somebody knows you cared enough to try and do something. Keep somebody guessing as to whether you use that as a hold point. Got a little bit of a hump in the middle. Don't necessarily want the hump. Something along those lines. Anything to save a little sanding is my opinion on things like that. And don't dig that into the side of the bowl when you do that. So now we gotta go back to some dust collection. Walnut is not very friendly to you, in case you didn't know that. It can raise your blood pressure, for one. I'm using the cut edge of the sandpaper to get into those little corners. That way they'll remain nice and crisp and clean. If I use the bit that's folded over, it will create a round corner in there. Which I don't want. Feeling around that corner over there a bit though. Blend those two areas, two different sands. pass fails is a little bit in the bottom, sand across with the grain. Remember, that's not moving in there, so other than the ding where I hit it with the tool rest, which it shouldn't be dumb enough to do, but trial number 2, and I think that's a success. I call it a success because I'm going to get out some finish and put some finish on it. My finish of choice, of course, which is the Parfix 3408. It's a slow setting CA glue. It'll be done in one coat. No water, no smoking paper towels, all that good stuff with it. It's a pleasure to work with. Got a piece of polyester felt on the inside there, inside of the paper towel. Easiest way to do the area where that's at, just let it run. Let gravity take its course. So we're giving it a nice flood coat. Don't be shy, don't be skimpy. What we want it to do is soak into the wood. And since our design is the way it is, looks like I can actually do this top all the way in, right in tight against the chuck. So it's not making contact all the way around. So there would only be a couple little places it would touch. It's still super glue. It will still glue your fingers. Just because it's slow setting and it doesn't stink, doesn't mean that it won't stick fast to you or other things. Good rub in. I'll wipe off the excess and we're done. Let it sit for 24 hours. In my case, it'll sit here probably till next weekend, at which time we'll buff it using the buffing wheels and some Vonnex. It's still pulling dirt off of it. All of it is a inherently dirty wood. Stays in the pores, makes it more challenging to finish, especially if you were using some sort of a wipe-on finish or something like that. All them little bits of dust want to stand up. Or this sort of just dissolves them and they go in there and they go bye-bye. Nice and dry. I will activate it quick like, just so I can pull it out and handle it. My climate, I could get away with not using the activator. Not in Pennsylvania, we have humidity, so 1 or 2 shots at a distance, 18 to 24 inches away, something like that. Give it just a smidgen of time, and we'll release it from the jaws. I guess actually I should finish the inside too at some point. Go back to 1. That's it. Again, zero in it a little bit. That's what it is. That's an ikebana. It's some sort of Japanese thing or something like that. They put little fake flowers or something in there, the lady said. This is a project for the Turning Club. She'd like to have like 150 of these before she starts giving them away to somebody. So, yeah. 1 down. Some of the other guys are making these too. So, I do end up with a nice snug fit on the inside on that one. So, the rest of them should be easier now that I got that part of it figured out. that's it. That's all we're going to do. It's time to go get some ice cream. If I can find my keyboard. Where did I leave my keyboard? There we go. Anybody have any questions, comments? Otherwise, we are going to call it a day. And we should be back next Saturday evening, around 6 o'clock, my normal time. Till then, everybody have a wonderful week.